Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are pulled from a different subreddit than normal. These stories are from Entitled People, not Entitled Parents. Our first story is by NockedJaeger68. Entitled coworker tried to hijack our wedding. Hey Reddit! Was listening to a bridezilla story and it reminded me of something that happened when my lady wife and I were planning our wedding in 1992. Part 1 is background/context, and Part 2 is the entitlement. Feel free to skip to Part 2. Part 1. The wedding we wanted and had. My lady wife is the anti-Karen and the anti-bridezilla. On our first date, she fanned out a stack of restaurant coupons and said, "Where do you want to take me?" We picked Pizza Hut. Her engagement ring is a heart-shaped amethyst with 2 little diamond chips. I bought it at the Kmart. She cherishes it. Her wedding dress did not come from a bridal shop, it came from the Sears catalog. It's a very simple, white lace, straight tea-length dress with cream underdress. Would not be out of place at an afternoon tea. I bought my 3-piece navy pinstripe suit since I needed a suit anyway. We wore the same clothes, with different accessories, to a costume party, as a 1920s gangster and his moll. We had the wedding at our church. Our pastor was the real deal. He blessed the rings, and when he handed them back, they were ice cold. We exchanged the old wedding vows. Think King James Bible style. My lady wife nixed the obey, though. A couple of my buddies found out at the last minute that they could make it and showed up. After we said our vows, they pulled out swords and made an impromptu arch for us to walk under. My wife's friends were upset and started yelling, "Nobody told us to bring our swords." Yeah, major sci-fi/fantasy/D&D/medieval geeks on both sides of the aisle. The reception was in the community room at the volunteer fire department I belonged to. Not fancy, but so informal and chill and practically free. A local supermarket with an awesome hot food bar catered. Everybody had so much fun. My boss's boss, a good friend, gorgeous blonde, showed up in her little black dress and appropriately flirted with my buddies. I don't think anybody will forget the pillow mint fight that broke out. A few of my wife's older relatives seemed sort of confused at the antics at first, but ended up having a blast. My father-in-law had set a rough budget for the wedding in his head. My lady wife came in way under that, so he gave us the difference in cash at the reception. He was already paying for the honeymoon as his wedding present to us. Honeymoon was in a day's drive, and it was a huge deal for what we got. My lady wife remembers the complete total spent by us and father-in-law is about $2,000 in 1992, which included the honeymoon, so under $4,500 today. 32 years together, 31 years married this October. Next anniversary, I'm going to take a page from my granddad and raise a toast to 5 years of wedded bliss. Part 2. Attempted hijacking. When my lady wife announced our engagement, one of her coworkers, not even a friend, apparently got wedding rabies. She was so happy and went over the top offering to help. My lady wife was doing the tiny amount of wedding planning that was needed, see above, as her maid of honor lived in New Jersey, we're in upstate New York, and had 2 kids to look after. Coworker insisted that it wasn't fair to my wife that the maid of honor wasn't doing the wedding planning. She kept trying to insert herself as the wedding planner. Nice of her to offer, but she wanted to arrange our wedding the way she wanted it. Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot? WTF? No, we did not want frou-frou centerpiece thingies or any of that nonsense. Coworker, not knowing my wife well, of course, had 0 clue what our tastes are. My wife's maid of honor was already making custom silk flowers for us and the tables as a wedding present. I think coworker was delusional enough to think she could weasel her way into being maid of honor. My wife kept politely but firmly shutting her down. Last straw was when coworker called me to tell me about a surprise bridal shower she was throwing for my wife, so I could get her there. Oh, heck no. First, my wife was already going to have a bridal shower at our house. Father-in-law and I went down to the fire hall and watched baseball. Second, my wife hates surprise parties. Third, my wife would never have picked that restaurant. An overpriced steakhouse is the absolute last restaurant we would ever pick. Fourth, Who the heck was coworker planning on inviting? She didn't know any of my wife's friends. Wife shut that down hard. She immediately called worker and told her off. No meltdown, no yelling, no screaming, no bad language or insults, just pure anger, as hot and bright as a welder's torch. Cue tears from coworker. Boo-hoo, I was just trying to help. Nope, denied. We joke that you need to keep my lady wife away from breakable objects when she's angry. Cities, mountain ranges, that kind of fragile stuff. Drama over, and the wedding happened. This sounds like the type of wedding that I would actually like going to. I don't like all that formal, invite 500 people stuff. I've never been a big fan of crowds. Keeping it really simple, just wearing some nice clothes and having a tiny little gift that somebody makes. That's it. That's really all you need. And I love that these two are geeks as well. I don't really do D&D stuff, but I do gaming and I'm a nerd and I enjoy sci-fi stuff as well. And I love that he says that she's going to break cities and mountain ranges. I think that's really cute. Obviously, he knows his lady wife well. Down in the comments, Library Mouse 4321 says, I like your wife and her values. It took a little while, but my husband learned what my values are. He once ordered my favorite, at the time, perfume online as a gift. The best part was when he told me he saved $8 by not getting it in the box. This made me so happy for 2 reasons. The box is a waste, and he gets me. Underneath that, by Just a Lizzie Life, it really is the little things, isn't it? I've been married nearly 24 years now, and my hubby and I joke that we now share a hive mind and can communicate solely in looks. I love when he'll respond to a question one of the kids ask me with exactly what I'm thinking without me saying a word. Cracks our kids up. He gets me. Our next post is by Livy5000 or Livy, Livy. Old woman yells at me for not telling her to get out of the way. Okay, so I was in Walmart for groceries. I'm not in any hurry and I don't mind waiting behind someone. There was this old woman in front of me on a certain aisle. I was patiently waiting for her to move so I could get what I needed. She noticed me and asked all cranky like, "Do you need something from here?" Yes. She didn't give me a chance to say more, which would have been, "But I don't mind waiting." She gets really angry and screams at me, "Well, why didn't you tell me to move out of the way? I would have moved." Now I got really angry and snapped at her, "Unlike you, I'm not a rude cow. I have no problem waiting since I have plenty of time. And even if I didn't, I still wouldn't be so rude. I was raised right." I deliberately added the last part since a lot of old people like to use that so much. She got really angry and turned red in the face and started screaming at me. I rolled my eyes and said, "Whatever." More anger, and then I thought to myself, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this crap. I turned around to go the other way and she starts following me, still screaming. So I ran and started giggling. She wasn't able to run. The screaming died down. I hid for a few minutes and then went back to get what I wanted. It was when I got outside to put my groceries in my car, had just finished and got into my car, that she appeared at my window, screaming. Just about scared me half to death. I couldn't help myself. I mean, when would I really get such an awesome opportunity to be a jerk? Since she couldn't actually harm me, I became childish. I rolled my window down a few centimeters and stuck my tongue out and said, "Nana, boo-boo, you can't catch me." The stunned astonishment and silence was very entertaining. Then her face got redder and kind of purple. The screaming started again, which was muted when I closed the window. I did a few more childish things, which increased the screaming, and then suddenly she stopped. I was gleefully laughing. She ran out of breath and walked away rather abruptly. I was kind of disappointed, but oh well. It was when I went home and got my kids to help me bring in the groceries that both of them took one look at me and said, "What did you do?" Lol. That's epic. That is epic. Actually, I think this is one of my favorite stories so far in all of the subreddits. Childish behavior, when somebody's a real jerk, I think reverting to your childish self is actually a good thing. Okay, sharing one tiny story about road rage, actually, that is similar to this. I'll never forget. We had an all-night Walmart, and I was on my way to get some drinks or something. It's 2:30 in the morning, and there's almost nobody on the road. because it's a tiny town. And I come to this intersection and there's a right lane and a left lane. And the left lane after the intersection ends about 200 feet up. And somebody pulls up next to me. Like they were behind me and they got into the left lane. And we're at the intersection waiting for the light to turn. And when it does, I hit the gas. Mind you, this place is has a speed limit of maybe 30 or 35 miles per hour. I hit the gas and did 70 miles per hour racing this person because I knew they just wanted to get in front of me. There was nobody else on the road. It was just me and I assume a her. Could have been a dude though, I don't really know. But we raced it. My old car could barely hold it together. And we went 60, 70 miles per hour. And I stayed in front, just barely. And then when I managed to do that, I made sure to slow down to 20 miles per hour, put my hands up in the air, and do a little shimmy shake in the rearview mirror because I knew she was mad. Not my proudest moment, but it's definitely one thing that makes me laugh. We've come to the end of today's episode. Until we meet again, have a flawless day.